fork in the left hand, knife in the right. In royal dining, cutlery is not simply a tool for eating, but a fundamental part of the event itself. Its handling, placement and use serve as non-verbal cues that guide the flow of the meal and reflect the guest's awareness of etiquette. Every detail is intentional and carries meaning within the formal setting of a royal table. The act of holding cutlery follows a strict and consistent convention. The fork is always held in the left hand, while the knife remains in the right. This rule applies throughout the entire meal and is not to be reversed, regardless of the type of dish being served. Consistency in this practice is regarded as a clear sign of proper training, polished behaviour, and respect for established dining tradition. Food on the back of the fork. When consuming food, it is not lifted with the inner curve of the fork as is common in many parts of the world. Instead, the food is carefully pushed onto the back side of the fork and then brought to the mouth. This manner of eating, which may appear awkward or overly formal to the unfamiliar observer, is in fact a defining trait of aristocratic dining and serves as a marker of refinement and discipline. Cutlery, crossed on the plate. Beyond the act of eating itself, the placement of the cutlery during and after the meal is equally codified. If a guest needs to leave the table momentarily, the knife and fork must not be set aside haphazardly. Instead, they are crossed neatly on the plate. This silent gesture communicates a clear message to the serving staff. The meal is not yet over, and the guest intends to return. As long as the cutlery remains in this crossed position, the plate must not be cleared under any circumstances. Cutlery at 4 o'clock. When the meal has been completed, a different placement is used. Both the knife and the fork are laid side by side, with the handles resting at the lower right edge of the plate, and the blades and tines pointing inward, usually at an angle of about 4 o'clock. While this form of signalling is observed not only by royals, but also by individuals familiar with international etiquette standards, within a royal setting it is followed with particular precision and consistency. It serves not only as a practical message to the staff, but also as a symbol of order, respect for tradition, and the quiet choreography that defines life at court. Meal timing follows the king. At formal royal dinners, the pace of each course is set by the king. Once he finishes eating and places his cutlery in the completed position, the course ends for all guests, regardless of whether they are finished or not. Plates are cleared immediately, without exception. This practice reflects the ceremonial nature of royal meals and is observed with consistency. Guests are often briefed in advance, especially those attending for the first time. Following the king's rhythm requires attentiveness and composure. The timing of a meal may vary depending on the occasion, but its structure always follows the lead of the sovereign. Conduct in the kitchen. During the king's presence. When the king enters the kitchen, all ongoing activity is brought to an immediate stop. Regardless of the urgency of the task or the stage of meal preparation, every action is paused as part of a protocol that reflects long-standing tradition and institutional respect. Pans are removed from the heat. Cooking ceases entirely, and the room shifts from motion to stillness in a matter of seconds. The kitchen staff responds with a coordinated gesture that is both symbolic and rehearsed. Each cook takes 3 steps back from their workstation and bows in the direction of the king. This movement is not spontaneous but deeply embedded in the training of royal household personnel. It serves as a formal acknowledgement of the king's authority and presence. Verbal communication is limited during such moments. While questions posed by the king may be answered directly and respectfully, no member of the staff resumes work until the king has left the room. Even if a dish risks being spoiled or delayed, continuation without the king's departure is not permitted. This specific protocol reveals the degree to which royal formality governs not only state ceremonies and public appearances, but also the private and operational spaces within the royal household. The kitchen, typically a space of function and urgency, is transformed into a stage of controlled stillness whenever the king appears. The gesture of halting all work is not merely practical, but symbolic, reinforcing the hierarchy and structure that define royal life at every level. In such moments, efficiency yields entirely to ritual, and even the practical demands of preparing a meal are temporarily suspended in favour of tradition, decorum, and deference. Tea drinking etiquette. The act of drinking tea within the royal household is not treated as a casual refreshment, but follows a set of clearly defined customs that reflect discipline, tradition, and social refinement. Each step, from preparation to posture, is performed according to protocol that has been shaped by generations of formal practice. The preparation of tea begins with the correct sequence of ingredients. The tea is poured into the cup first, followed by the milk. This order allows for the strength of the tea to be judged before adding dairy, which in turn ensures the intended balance of flavour. Reversing this sequence is considered improper in formal royal settings. Stirring must be carried out with care and subtlety. The spoon is moved gently back and forth in a straight line, avoiding any circular movement. At no point should the spoon come into contact with the inner walls of the cup, as even the faintest sound is considered a breach of etiquette. The motion is meant to be silent, restrained, and controlled. The correct handling of the teacup is also governed by specific instruction. The handle is held between the thumb and the index finger, while the middle finger supports the base from below. Contrary to a popular misconception, the little finger must never be extended outward, as this is seen not as refined, but as a display of affected behaviour that contradicts the understated nature of genuine royal manners. During the act of drinking, absolute silence is expected. No noise should be made while sipping, and the cup must be returned to the saucer with care, avoiding any clatter. These details may appear minor, yet they contribute to an overall sense of grace and composure. Within the framework of royal custom, even a simple tea ritual becomes a demonstration of social awareness, personal restraint, and commitment to tradition, with every motion shaped by the expectation of quiet elegance. Christmas gifts for royal staff. In addition to formal protocols and etiquette, the royal household observes a number of internal traditions that highlight continuity, appreciation, and symbolic generosity. One such tradition is the distribution of Christmas gifts to members of the royal staff, a practice that has been maintained for many decades and remains an integral part of the seasonal calendar within the royal residences. Each year, approximately 1,500 Christmas puddings are given to staff members across the various royal estates and departments. The puddings are not merely tokens of seasonal celebration, but represent a structured gesture of recognition from the monarch to those who serve the household throughout the year. For staff members with long service records, additional gifts may be given alongside the traditional pudding. These items are often selected with care and carry a formal message of thanks. The gesture is consistent with the royal household's values of continuity, hierarchy, and structured reward, embedded in a culture that emphasizes institutional loyalty and understated acknowledgement. While modest in form, these Christmas rituals underscore the household's emphasis on tradition and reinforce the internal rhythm of life at court, where gestures of appreciation are integrated into established ceremonial patterns. Dietary restrictions and personal preferences in royal cuisine. In the royal household, certain foods are strictly avoided. Garlic and onions are not used in royal meals, particularly during formal occasions. This restriction exists primarily for reasons of hygiene and etiquette, as both ingredients leave strong, lingering odours that are considered unsuitable for close social interactions. Their exclusion applies especially to events where the king or senior royals engage in conversation with guests at close range. The goal is to maintain a neutral and pleasant atmosphere, free from any distracting or intrusive scents. In addition to these general rules, personal taste has also shaped royal kitchen policies. Queen Elizabeth II was known to dislike garlic, and her preference contributed to its long-term absence from menus at royal events. The kitchens continue to respect this convention, maintaining a cautious approach to seasoning. Shellfish, including mussels and oysters, is also excluded from official dinners. The reason for this restriction is practical and consistent: the risk of foodborne illness. Even when prepared under the highest standards, shellfish can carry a heightened risk of causing allergic reactions or digestive issues. As a result, royal menus avoid these ingredients entirely in formal settings. Spices are subject to similar scrutiny. Dishes containing exotic spices or high levels of heat, such as chili peppers or strongly seasoned curries, are not served at official functions. The royal family favours a mild, classically European cuisine that minimises the possibility of physical discomfort during meals. This includes avoiding foods that might lead to sweating, indigestion, or other visible reactions during diplomatic or ceremonial occasions. These omissions follow established internal policies that have been observed over decades. Within the structure of royal protocol, each component of a meal is selected with attention to consistency, presentation, and suitability for the occasion. Ingredients are chosen not only for their flavour, but also for their compatibility with the expectations of formal dining in a highly regulated environment.